Hello, everybody. Hi there. I'm Artem. My name is Artem Boyce. And we are into our third broadcast in the Shelter in Peace series, where I speak about the current situation with the pandemic, with the virus, can affect the spiritual growth, how you can use it, how you can find an opportunity for spiritual work during these times. And in the first broadcast, we spoke about anxiety and fear. In the second broadcast, I tried to speak to people who find themselves in solitude, alone right now, and we spoke about the specific challenges of that. And today I'll be talking about those of you who are living with your loved ones, or with family, or with children, or with a wife or husband or friends, and you find yourself in a space where it's not as easy to get away, and then you kind of have to spend a lot of time with people with whom you're not necessarily always communicate very smoothly, So it can arise. It can uncover all sorts of problems in a relationship, and that's why I'm wearing these glasses. So first, before we speak, before I talk, I'd like to quickly remind you. So my name is Artem. This is my website. Please come and read and follow me and ask me questions. Hopefully, I can help you with some words of perspective or wisdom or whatever it is on your spiritual path. And I am making this broadcast 4 times a week right now for as long as this thing, the self-isolation, continues. And I'm doing this on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays. So Tuesdays and Fridays, 11 a.m. PST, and Wednesdays and Saturdays, 6 p.m. PST. So today is a Saturday, and right now it's 6:04 p.m. And I am live. So, okay. Thank you, Shay. Yes. So, where do I begin? So, many people, I think, I suspect, find ourselves now in a situation which is very stressful, because not only there's the danger that there's this virus that is going around and trying to infect everybody for some survival and reproduction, which I don't blame the virus, but but we gotta protect ourselves from it. Okay. So not only there is that, not only there is an economic slowdown, and for a lot of people, they don't even know where the next meal is going to come from. There's a lot of anxiety with regards to that. There's a lot of anxiety. People losing their job, 22 million unemployed. I mean, it's a shit show, right? So there's a lot of things going on, and it's very stressful. But on top of all of that, one of the biggest difficulty can be to stay home with a person, with whom, or with several people with whom you lived for quite a long time, but you never kind of spent a month with them 24 hours a day. So there was always work, there was always school, there was always something else. So you were like, maybe in the beginning when you were just falling in love, you were ready to spend days and days and hours and weeks 24/7 all the time with each other. But that never lasts, right? That never lasts. So so when you just fall in love, when you just fall in love with somebody, you tend to kind of view them through a rose-tinted glasses. So you tend to be very forgiving. Yes, of course, sometimes they trigger you, they get on your nerves. They would say something, and it would be, ouch, that hurt. And yes, you understand that they didn't mean it, but you can become very sensitive. We can become very sensitive when we fall in love. But the joy of being with that person, the joy of life in love, the joy of intimacy, this newfound intimacy with another being, with another human, because love is intimacy most of all. It can become, it usually does, right? It can become so profound and so overwhelming. Oftentimes not for a long time, but it does. So that we tend to kind of overlook anything. We tend to say, well, that's okay. You know what? Okay, so what? It hurt a little bit. So what? Right? So we tend to be very forgiving. Because this is the moment where, this is the time period when we fall in love, when our kind of egoic insecurities, where our grudges, where sensitivities, where trauma, which made us into who we are. So our childhood trauma, in a lot of ways, defines our insecurities, right? It also defines, in a lot of ways, to what situations we will react aggressively. It defines what conflict we seek, what conflict we find intolerable. Our strategies as we try also, oftentimes unconsciously, to manipulate our partner. So all of that is kind of on hold when we're in love. When we're in love, everything looks like this, right? So yes, we find things we don't like, but we let them go. But then as we live with this person, more and more, we tend to accumulate these grudges. We tend to, yes, in some ways there's intimacy, but in some ways there are weaknesses and insecurities and pain points. Every one of us has pain points, right? And couples differ how they kind of deal with it. Some people usually when people live long enough, they know each other's pain points. And if people are compassionate towards each other, they try not to kind of go there. But sometimes when people are in arguments, they go there specifically. So we are, the way that we, after a while, when we're no longer in love, when we're just living with them, the way that we relate with somebody, the way we relate to our loved ones, is oftentimes quite horrific, because we use our intimate knowledge of the other person in order to get them to do what we want, right? And that's not our fault that we behave this way, because we are, a lot of people who behave this way, they have seen this behavior, they have internalized this behavior. We were in a way taught to behave this way. So when we live together with somebody in a confined space, all sorts of triggers can arise, and all sorts of conflict can arise. I mean, this proximity, it creates conflict. You see, so the in the egoic sense, when we love somebody, we always at the same time hate them to a certain extent. So because if somebody can bring us contentment and happiness, the same person can bring us pain. If a person can bring us pleasure, then the same person can bring us pain. If we find that our life is better with this particular person, then when, like, for example, he's in a good mood, then we can find that our life is very, very bad when he's in a bad mood. So every person is a process. It has good things, it has bad things. Sometimes it brings us joy, sometimes they irritate us. So that is something unavoidable. But how we deal with it, how we communicate, how we relate to the other person is very important. And so I would like to bring up for the topic for the topic for the conversation on the topic of how does my intimate relationships with a partner, how do my intimate relationships with a partner affect my spiritual growth? So for the conversation of this topic, I would like to bring up a wonderful person, Marshall Rosenberg. So he is the author of the course called Nonviolent Communication, and I can wholeheartedly recommend this course. It is a really beautiful work. He has done really beautiful work on trying to understand and relate to the human psyche in a universal way. And he's done a great work on himself. Avid, I don't know if he's alive right now. So he was an avid practitioner of this program himself, and he actually speaks in his lectures that it was difficult for him to retrain himself to communicate non-violently, to not create conflict where there is none. But the interesting thing about his method is that it aligns with the spiritual process. It aligns with the, with the goal of spirituality, with the spiritual element perfectly, because his whole system could have only arisen out of a relatively deep, compared to most people, but still, like, maybe not as deep in the traditional spiritual sense, but relatively deep insight into how human psyche works. And yes, I mean, we could say that for the most part, this is how ego works, but it doesn't matter because kind of where you are is where you are. Like, so what you feel is what you feel. It's absolutely not productive to say, well, this is ego, this is not ego. I mean, you to yourself, right? What you feel is what you feel. What you feel is true for you. What you experience is true for you, right? So his method basically, he identifies, and I really recommend. I recommend his work to anybody that's kind of basically enlightenment light. So he identifies human needs, what he calls universal human needs, right? I mean, I could say, of course, yeah. I mean, those are kind of universal egoic needs. So what? They are egoic desires. That's true, right? So those universal human needs are fundamentally egoic desires. So from the egoic perspective, they are needs, absolutely, for sure. So for example, the need to be understood, the need to be loved, the need to like, for example, the need for appreciation or gratitude, right? So he identifies a series of universal human needs, which actually, by the way, can be found in all cultures, right? Because those are kind of this is kind of a universal composition of human psyche. And he teaches that whenever you feel a negative emotion, or wherever you want something from the other person, right? Then he observed that we have two modes of operation with other people. And the first one is when we're honest about ourselves and we are asking another person, right? So you can call it heartfulness. I mean, he calls it giraffe ears and giraffe language, right? So you can call it heartfulness. You can call it also connection. You can call it truthfulness. You can call it honesty, right? And an example of that would be something like, for example, so you identify what you feel, you identify why you feel that, and then you make a polite, positive, direct request. Like for example, I feel so angry. I feel very angry because I have a need to be, let's say, appreciated when I wash the dishes. Like last time, when I wash the dishes, you usually don't say thank you. I would like to ask you, please, could you please, when I wash the dishes, say thank you? It's very important for me. So that's kind of the language. So you notice, and he's doing it much better than I can, but you notice that the focus is on what am I feeling, right? Why am I feeling it? And the focus on the communication with another person is a request. It's not a demand. So there is no criticism. If you are speaking about something, like if you want to give a context, and you want to give a context, so you want to explain what happened, right? So I washed the dishes. You didn't say thank you. I mean, this is true. It's in itself, it doesn't carry any. If it happened, right? In itself, it doesn't carry any. What's the word? Accusation, right? In itself, it doesn't carry accusation. So he very carefully guides people to expressing their emotion, to expressing the need that was violated, and to in a non-accusatory way to ask a person to modify their behavior in the future, right? So that is kind of a heartful approach, and then there's a manipulative approach. Right? And he calls it Jekyll language and Jekyll ears. And the manipulative approach is to accuse. It's like, you're so ungrateful. You never thank me when I wash the dishes. Now that's it, right? If you do something like that, well, first of all, you're not going to get a genuine gratitude from this person, right? If he is going to thank you, then it's going to be bitter, right? So he's going to thank you because you kind of kicked his ass and he doesn't want it to happen next time, right? So he's going to be thinking out of fear, right? So every time, like if you do something like that, right, to your husband, let's say, or like wife, it doesn't matter. You're so ungrateful. Every time I wash the dishes, you never say thank you. You know what? Like, why did I marry you? Whatever. Then what's going to happen is the next time he's going to see you washing the dishes, he's going to get scared immediately. Oh my God. Okay, now I have to make sure I want to wait until she finishes and then I'm going to thank her, because I don't want to get it, So you got to get what you want, but it's not really what you want, right? So this manipulative approach, right? So it focuses on the other person, focuses on what's wrong. It focuses on what's wrong with the other person. So it's the difference of you listen to the music too loud. It's wrong. You wrong. It's too loud. You're listening to the music too loud versus the music is too loud for me. Can you please turn it down? It's too loud for me. It's uncomfortable for me. It's a request. It's a request for me. I'm asking you. I'm not manipulating you. I'm not trying to say there's something wrong with you. Most people listen to the music on a much lower level. You're listening to it too loud. Change it. Change yourself. Like change it. Like realize that you're wrong and fix it. So it's very different from there's nothing wrong with you, but for me it's too loud. Can you do it for me? And then an important thing that he also underscores is that when you apply this technique, then it is important to be honest, because if this is if you are asking if this is a request, if this is not a command, if this is not a demand, then if your request is not satisfied, then you are like, you're not supposed to lash out at the other person, you know? So he makes a very important observation that the difference between a brilliant man, really, I mean, a difference between a request and a command is not the language. It's not the language. Because if you're in the army, you know, somebody like a colonel can say very pleasantly, you know, dear private, would you like to go there and do that? You know, or if you're in a very close and warm relationship with somebody, then you can say something without any pleas, without anything. You can say that in common tone, like, come here. But the other person would know that it is a request. And what is the difference? What is the difference? It's very easy. The difference is there going to be negative consequences? Is there going to be punishment if you refuse? So if I say, come here, and you say, no, I don't want to, or whatever it is, right? Or I have some other things to do or whatever. And I say, well, okay, then there wasn't a command, right? And if I say, dear private, would you like to go somewhere? And you say, well, no, I wouldn't like. And I would say, well, now, you know, drop and give me 50. Then it wasn't a request, it was a command. You know, so it's the same when you communicate this. So he basically, so it is in a way Enlightenment light, because it incorporates a lot of the most important things, the most important observations about ourselves, which I also always repeat again and again and again. And the first one is that you do not really control your emotional experience. You do not control your internal experience, right? So his whole system is based on the idea that you do not control what you feel, that you can't control it, right? So you might as well be truthful about it. You might as well be honest about it. You might as well be honest with another person about it. And we all understand it because we all have the same feelings. So if you really explain the situation, if you say that, well, okay, like every time that then you don't thank me, I'm angry with you, right? Then maybe even if the other person cannot relate to this situation, like for example, he doesn't get angry when he's not being thanked, but at the very least, he's able to relate to anger, right? And he also knows that the anger that in his experience, you know, he gets angry at some other stuff, right? He doesn't really control it. Right, so he doesn't like it either. So the kind of the hope of the system is that by explaining, by communicating your human experience to another person, you are building a deeper connection. You're building a deeper connection because this person can relate to your human experience, and with an open heart, you can solve many problems because generally speaking, we can all relate to each other's experience. Everybody can relate to each other's experience. We just don't want to, because we think that our experience is more important. We think that when we're hurt, when we use this jackal language, then we don't hear, right? So we're not hearing. We're not hearing other person's experience, and we're not trained, we're not explained, we're not conditioned to even speak about our experience. We're conditioned to do the opposite. We're conditioned to really kind of keep our experience to ourselves, do not talk about it, and manipulate another person without giving them the details about what is it that we are going through. What is it? You know, but to manipulate another person so that they change our behavior so that it's more comfortable for us. And the way that we manipulate another person is we usually, well, not always, but usually when we manipulate, that we try to make them feel bad about themselves. We try to make them feel guilty. We try to make them feel ashamed. And this is the opposite direction from intimacy, you see. The problem is that when you well, first of all, learning to speak about your experience requires immediately to put the focus on you. So he tells this wonderful story, which I think I told it already, but I like it so much that I'll tell it again. So when he just learned to speak differently to his loved ones, when he just started to apply the system to himself, and he had a son or whatever, and they were kind of trying to, I don't know, getting to go walk or something, and I remember tying shoelaces, whatever, and the son said something, right? Like, I don't know, like, I don't remember, but I think it was something like, "Daddy, what's taking you so long?" or something, like some kind of accusation that kind of triggered him a little bit, and he wanted to tell him something, right? So his initial reaction was to snap a little bit, to say something like, "Why can't you wait a little?" Something like that, right? It doesn't matter. But he wanted to try to. He was training himself to speak differently, to not lash out, to take responsibility for his emotional experience, because that's what the system does to you. It makes you take responsibility for your emotional experience, and it starts with looking into it. And he stopped, because he needed to see, he needed to look into what is it, what is he feeling, why. And what does he want from it, from his son, right? Maybe nothing at all, right? But what does he want? Like, he wants to be maybe treated differently, whatever. I don't remember the exact situation. But he paused for a while, and there was a pause, like some seconds. And his son said, his son said something like, it's taking you so long to respond, whatever. Like, why are you frozen or something? And he knew that he was retraining himself, and he said, or he says something like, "Can you respond quicker?" And he has, quicker, I can only do it like I did before. So before he relearned, so kind of the standard way that we operate. And his son said, amazing thing, he said, "No, Daddy, think as long as you like, I'll wait." Because that's how much we hurt ourselves. That's how much we hurt each other. By automatically, when we feel discomfort, when we feel the emotional discomfort, we are so conditioned to find the blame in somewhere, in somebody, and to tell them what's wrong with them, that we do it kind of automatically, and we hurt each other so much. So it is such a wonderful opportunity when you're living together with somebody to understand each other better, to learn about each other, to learn to listen about somebody else's experience. Just listen, and it's going to be all sorts of your own emotions associated with it, but it's okay, just stay with it. And if you want to talk about it, then you can also talk about it. But just even listening is very hard for a lot of people. I'm not speaking about talking about it. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get closer to each other, because you see, the interesting thing is that we are all fundamentally very much the same, but we are absolutely not extending any effort into getting to know each other better. Or because if we get to know each other better, we will actually see it. It's not very hard to see that we are fundamentally the same. All of us, any of us, even the most different people can relate to each other, really, if they want to, right? If they want to. But it can be painful, because what another person says can trigger kind of sorts of childhood wounds, And you don't even have to look for examples. Any man can relate to the feelings of discomfort and pain when, for example, their wife is speaking about his wife is speaking about her past, like sexual escapades or something. I mean, some men don't have it right now, but they used to, probably. They were younger. So it's like it can be difficult to kind of put yourself into somebody else's shoes. Speaking about men and women, for example, the gender relationships, right, and the conflict between genders. It's like, for example, it's very easy actually to relate, let's say, to a very beautiful woman. It's just that most men they kind of don't want to, they don't want to admit that if they were the same, so if they were in her shoes, right, if they themselves were gorgeous and everybody was like, hey babe, why don't you come, with me and stuff like that, if they had so many suitors and stuff, that they would themselves be irritated, sometimes rude, picky like hell, they would be the same, and they don't want to admit it. They want to keep believing like, oh no, I'm better, I'm such a noble standing, and she's just like, some hot ass bitch, or like I don't know, whatever. A bitch is a woman who has sex with what was it, like a whore is a woman who has sex with somebody else, not me. Things like that. So it's because it is painful. You see, it is painful, but it is true. So truth oftentimes uncovers some emotional discomfort. So by just being honest with each other, just being truthful with each other, partners can go to incredible depths, and it can be very difficult too. But while you are in this mode, whenever it hurts, you don't want to talk, or that you are afraid that, or if somebody speaks to you and you're kind of making it worse for them, or because you don't want to listen. And it's enough for one person to be in this mode. So if you're in this mode, then this is never going to happen. And I mean, sometimes you go in and out of it. I mean, sometimes it takes time. So it's a never expect everything to go smoothly, right? But it is an opportunity. It is a wonderful opportunity to be closer to each other. I mean, the interesting thing is that it's actually very natural for us to be living with somebody in close quarters for a long period of time and not have a lot of conflict. Like if you look at if you don't look at monkeys who lives in families, I mean, sure, yeah, they have some conflict, but they live in a closely knit group for a long time, for all their lives, right? And we in our marriages and families, we oftentimes find ourselves in a situation where, when we live with somebody for a long time, it just becomes absolutely unbearable, And yes, of course, I mean, sometimes you just don't want to live with this person, and that is also true. But for as long as we seek our happiness in another person, for as long as we demand of another person to make us happy, for as long as we put some happiness in their hands, right, we will always also hate them, and we will always also need some time off from them, because they will sometimes irritate us, they will sometimes hurt us, and they will sometimes be too much, because this relationships in general, the relationship that you have with them, is a relationship that you should have with yourself. This relationship should be a continuation of the relationship that you have with yourself, because you can give them only as much love as you can give for yourself. So it is a beautiful opportunity to go into the direction of a greater intimacy of a greater knowing of each other. I wanted to add something on this topic of knowing yourself. And as we speak about spirituality, and the biggest mistake that people make about spirituality is to assume that spirituality is about God. And spirituality is about divine. Spirituality is about some experiences. Spirituality is about, no, spirituality is about you. You see, the ego is so tricky. It is so tricky. It would look at know thyself and think, oh, okay, so know thyself means know God, because I am also God, because God is in me. So if I know thyself means know God. So if I know God, if I I don't know, that's what it means, because God is me, right? No! You will never know God before you know yourself, right? Because what stands between, what separates you from God is you, not God. God doesn't God doesn't stand between you and God. It's insane. What stands between you and God is you. So you have to know yourself, because this knowledge of the divine, the knowledge of enlightenment, the knowledge, the ultimate knowledge of yourself it's a path through you. It's you know yourself better and better. You know all the layers of yourself. So you get to know all the layers of yourself, and knowing intimately, deeper knowing of any other person it takes you to the same direction. Because you're capable of everything they're capable of. You could behave the same way in their situation. You see, so that's why in this regard, self-knowledge, knowledge of other people, is the same thing. It's all about intimacy. It's all about intimacy. It's all about not rejecting any part of yourself, not rejecting any aspect of yourself. Understanding, you see. Even hatred can be understood, because hatred is suppressed pain. Even violence can be understood. And I'm not speaking about self-defense violence, or I'm speaking about, oh, I'm offended violence, but even that can be understood, because most people felt this way. I mean, most people, I think, never actually did it to a greater extent, but most people felt the desire to kill somebody, or to hurt somebody, or to maim somebody based on what they said. And those who said that they have never felt this desire even for a second, and mostly are liars. So know thyself is very deep, and spirituality is more about you actually than it is about the divine, because you are the divine. It's everything about you. You and God are the same thing. Everything about you, everything about it. It is extremely tempting to find another area of exploration other than yourself, because the self-exploration is the most difficult emotionally, is the most heart-wrenching experience. But it's also the most beautiful and the most liberating experience. You shouldn't forget about that. Anyway, it's been about 40 minutes, and I think, again, I will show a couple of things. So this is to anybody who's watching. This is my website. We also have a Discord community. Please, I will post a link to our Discord community to the comment of this video. Once again, Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication, is a very good tool. I mean, for some of you, you might not need it, because you can for a lot of if you are self-realized, if you're awakened, if you can witness and observe the mind, then you have an increased capacity of not reacting to your anger and stuff like that. But when you do feel like you want to speak to somebody about what went down, right, it is a very good technique to speak to somebody in a non-threatening, non-violent way that does not promote conflict, but on the opposite, encourages and promotes deeper intimacy and understanding and love. Because love is not desire. Desires come and go. Love is intimacy. That's what love is. Okay, so let me take it. Okay, so let me then look at the comments. There. Not too many. I have this book. Oh, Teresa says I have this book. It's so good. Yes, it's very good. Maybe someday we'll follow. You can start today. Nidra. Hi, Artem. Oh, I remember you. Yes, hi. Okay. Guests.
Hi, I'm Colin.
Yes.
Is there anybody else? Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Yes. So, you have any questions, or if you want to share something, or if you want to talk about something, you know, if you feel that my talking is helpful, yes.
What would you suggest
Yes, please.
if nonviolent communication or attempts at it is met?
Oh, can you move closer to the microphone?
Yes. What if attempts at this nonviolent communication, speaking from the I space, creates more conflict?
Nonviolent communication creates more conflict.
Infuriating the other
person. That's okay. You know, a person who is infuriated is also a person who is in pain, right? So don't infuriate them more, obviously. But yes, I mean, it happens. The important thing about nonviolent communication is to be honest. You see, because yes, of course, nonviolent it doesn't always work. Yeah. So you have to remember that one of you see those tools are not about your kind of being able to influence other people better. No. They are about knowing yourself better and being honest. The ability to influence other people is a consequence of self-acceptance, and as a consequence of self-acceptance, it stems out of love. And since it stems out of love, then the influence that you extend tends to be in the direction of lessening the conflict and in a good direction for everybody. But it still doesn't mean that the person will oblige, right? And that's the best you can do. So one of the other another very difficult but important lesson in life is that I mean, frankly, all you can do is ask. You know, you do not control other people. If you try to make somebody do something, they will not do it very well. Or and in the realm of the personal relationship, almost every manipulation backfires. You know, so all you can do is ask. And if somebody gets furious or irritated because of that, well, what can you do? But there's also the component that that kind of you have to be maximally honest, maximally truthful. You see, because yes, I mean, of course, this other person, he can have so much baggage, so much judgments, some value judgments, and so much, let's say, resentment already accumulated at you, so that even if you have changed honestly, authentically, that he might still kind of dump it on you all the time, every time you speak to him, right? Yes, it's possible, right? But also, more often than not, we are not being completely honest. So they kind of feel something. They feel some familiar themes, you know. So it is, you know. So you can also ask him. Also, you know, what I'm very sorry. What was that I said made you angry? I want to know. I will just listen. You know. Can you do that? So if you can't, was there something in your message, in your communication, that wasn't exactly authentic? So make sure that whatever you communicate is real, right? Make sure that you don't use this language, that you don't use this Marshall technique to manipulate better, you know? So whatever, if you're feeling something, be truthful about it. You know, if you want something from the other person, be truthful about it. So he has a bunch of, he has a very good course. You don't have to speak this way.
I've just downloaded it.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't help you, then it's fine. You know, I mean, people differ. So his observation was that so he separated people with like giraffes and jackals. I mean, of course, there are very few giraffes, and well, he didn't separate people. He separated languages, like the giraffe language and the jackal language. He's right? It's not about people. It's because we're all the same. We just trained this way. So he said his observation was that a giraffe ears, so giraffe language, giraffe ears can listen to jackal, and and hear what he's saying. He said, Marshall said a very beautiful, so pretty much like an enlightened sage statement. He said, everything that people say, even when we accuse each other, when we demand stuff from each other, when we attack each other, but every time that happens, we only say one of two things: please or thank you. You see? Because you always listen to the music too loud, so loud. Is, could you please turn it down? You see? But you just have to hear it. And what prevents us from hearing it is judgments, is emotional response, is negative. So he says, when it happens, stop, look inside, understand. And the more you do it, the more you will automatically be able to hear the message behind the rudeness. You see? But fundamentally, right, this ability to hear what the other person is really saying to you under the egoic conflict is the ability that you gain with enlightenment. You see, like, kind of, you ignore all the attacks, you just ignore it, right? But so that's why I also feel that his method is very much in line, and I did it myself for a while. I practiced it myself for a while when I was separating with my girlfriend of several years, like 5 or 7 years ago. It was very, very difficult and painful separation. So I was trying to use it. So his observation was that and I can confirm it, that it helps you listen to jackal language, and if you speak giraffe, it still can affect jackals in a good way, right? So he said that even if you do it for yourself, only for yourself, and the other person doesn't do anything at all, then your relationship would still improve. And it's the same thing, and I can confirm it, and it's the same thing with all of the spirituality, basically. All of it, completely all of it. So regardless of like where you are in the unfolding, how deep you are, how much you let go, like you, everything that as you change yourself and as you become more accepting and more loving and more understanding of the other person's plight, and because you had them, as you are growing, your relationship with people become better automatically, not just for you but for them effortlessly. So which is not to say, of course, do it for them. No, which is exactly to say, do it for you. You see, do it for you. Okay, so Colin and Alex, I think you kind of removed yourself, right, from a is that what you did? It's very, very, very nice.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please.
Can you hear me?
I can.
No?
I can.
God damn it.
Okay. I can hear you, Alex.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can, but I can't hear you now. That's crazy.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you now, Artem. Okay, great.
It's good.
Wow. I'm sorry. This just might be how it goes all the time.
Okay. Yes. So please.
Ask a question, Alex.
Okay, Colin. My question, Artem, was, can you get addicted to marijuana?
I don't know. Probably.
On the spirit, while on the spirit.
I have been using like you asked me like for the last month I was pretty much using marijuana every day. And today I haven't. So can you? I don't know. I'm not feeling anything, but I mean I'm also in the process of quitting smoking. So I kind of still I feel some, what's it called when it kind of pulls you, kind of yearning. Yeah.
Withdraw.
So, yeah. So I feel like sometimes I feel like small periods of yearning that last like several seconds or like up to a minute or something like this. And maybe it's marijuana also, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it is marijuana is very it's good that you asked the question. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I don't think it's possible. Urges. Wonderful. Yes. Beautiful word. Yes. Thank you, Liz. Urges. Yes. So I feel like 3, 5, 7 urges throughout the day, and they are very short lasting, and I think it has to do with nicotine more than with marijuana, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Here is craving. Oh, craving is the word I was looking for. Jesus, so many good words. Thank you guys. So here's what I think. I don't think that it's possible to get addicted to, let's say, LSD or mushrooms or stuff like that. I don't think it's possible to get addicted to that.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get addicted to marijuana? Wow. I mean, this is much more difficult. And here's why. Because in the self-realized phase, when I got sufficiently deep, I have basically there was a point where I have noticed that all psychedelics work pretty much the same on me. That I stopped seeing any difference, basically. right? Significant difference. So before that, in the separate state, you can kind of tell that they all take you to the same place, and that's true, and I completely agree. And Terence McKenna was of the same opinion. By the way, he wasn't enlightened, and he was just an expert on psychedelics. So, so he kind of put a circle around DMT. He said DMT is in is in the center, like everything else on top, like maybe weed. So, but he was saying like, okay, so there's this one place, one target, and they all take you there. And I completely confirm it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So, but in the separated state, like LSD and mushrooms and weed, they all kind of felt differently. So LSD felt very differently. Mushrooms felt different from LSD, more like DMT. And weed felt really different. It didn't feel anything like LSD or mushroom. It felt more like, for me, like the kind of it gave me a lot of body high and stuff like that. It felt very, very different. So before self-realization, I had a period where I smoked weed every year. I smoked weed every day for about a year, but I was severely depressed. So for me, it was my help. Like it helped me to pretty much make it through the day. So I had a kind of this, what people would call the dark night of the soul, a very long depression with this incredible amount of suicidal ideation and anxiety and all sorts of stuff, right? So I actually started smoking before when I was depressed. Then with my ex-girlfriend, and we smoked every day, and then it was good. And then at some point of time, I got to the point where I would smoke pretty much any amount, and I would get paranoid immediately. So it's already very close. Right? So it's very close into kind of letting go and falling into my fear, right? So I was on the brink. I know a lot of people who are addicted to weed that are not like that at all, right? So like I was, let's say, you can say addicted, right? So I was addicted to it like for a year and a half. And then I got to a point where I couldn't smoke anymore because I was just on the brink of self-realization. So a little bit more, and I would realize it. And I would fall, like I did 2.5 years ago. So, so if you ask me, did weed kind of help me to get to this point? I would say, yeah. I mean, probably.
Okay.
But you can get addicted to weed if you're looking for sensual experience, right? So okay, so that's one relationship with weed. But then the self-realization happened, and after that, the relationship with weed, my experience, I'm speaking from my experience, right? It changed dramatically, right? Because the every time I would smoke, and I didn't smoke a lot, it maybe just 2-3 times in the first a couple of years. It was just like an LSD trip, basically, right? So I didn't see much difference, right? It was not weed anymore, So I would have fear, I would have like maybe anger, whatever. I would cry and stuff, and later I would feel more bodily bliss. I would feel the mind would be emptier. There would be less emotional response and less suffering and stuff like that. So it was just absolutely the same, right? And as I started to use weed recently, I started from a place where I would take a couple of drugs, and then I would get immediately into some light shaking, some fear, and after that. So it's kind of the rest of the conditioning, the rest of the fear, the rest of the restlessness, the rest of the whatever it is left, kind of tends to uncover it, right? And that was my experience. So for me, after self-realization, weed stopped being fun. All psychedelics stopped being fun after self-realization, all of it. So all of them. So you cannot get addicted to something that's not fun, that is difficult, right? So I was every time that I would do it, there would be some fear, and the mind would race, and it would be uncomfort, some discomfort, and it will just settle down. So I got to the point where I do it and pretty much nothing happens. There's no like shit, like pretty much nothing. Yeah, I feel a little bit more of a bodily bliss, and I mean, is there tolerance? Am I addicted? I don't know. I haven't used it today. I probably won't. I mean, it's legal in California. You have to remember that. I want to use it tomorrow. Probably. I probably want to use it 3 days after now. I don't know. I don't feel any addiction or anything like that. But maybe I'm wrong, right? I'll let you know. Like in a couple of weeks, right? but generally, I kind of got to the point. It's the same thing with LSD. If I take like a standard or like half a dose of LSD, it's not like I feel anything. I don't really feel a lot. Like, pretty much not at all. So if I think that if I eat like 100 milligrams of weed, then it's gonna be probably still a difficult experience for me. Possibly, I don't know, but possibly, right? Or if I take a lot of LSD, I think. But to answer your question, is it possible? Do I think that it's possible for me to get addicted to weed or LSD or any psychedelic? No. I think that even if I use it, I'm basically just, and even if I use it a lot, I'll just get to the point where it stops working. That's all, And is it possible to get addicted in samsara? Yes, absolutely. But in samsara, you get addicted to everything. In samsara, you get addicted to love from romantic love. You get addicted to career. You get addicted to success. You get addicted to emotions. You get addicted to emotional drama. You get addicted to money. You get addicted to all sorts of drugs, because the weed kind of weed is a very light psychedelic. So if you start like let's say LSD and mushroom is much more intense. So I think that if you like, I'm not sure what would happen. I think it's possible to get addicted to weed if you use it kind of lightly, but if you are using it in spiritual context, if you are meditating on it, or even if you start using larger doses, so you start having very difficult experiences, then I don't think so. But you see, most people don't use weed like that. Most people in samsara used weed exactly the way that most people in samsara use meditation, which is, just to relax a little, like take a break, just find a kind of a little bit of calm and quiet, and like relax a little bit, and then get back to the wheel right away, right?
Yeah.
And I heard some people say, well, I don't want to smoke weed anymore because I remember that when I do, I don't want to work, right? And I really so the people who still want to achieve something in life, in like emotionally, right? So for whom the game, the social game, is still dear emotionally, right? May never ever use weed or meditation to actually break through and to actually self-realize, right? So it is like you be your best judge here. The question of addiction is always a question of escape, always. So if you are asking yourself, am I getting addicted or no, or am I getting sucked into truth, or am I getting sucked into the spiritual process, right? Or am I, what's going on with me? If that is your question, it's always a question of avoidance. So am I avoiding my pain? Am I using this drug to stay in a comfortable place so that I don't have to come back where it's not comfortable for me? It's an escape for me. You see? So alcohol, like you can like immediately, alcohol, morphine, you can immediately get the class of drugs that it would apply to, right? Or is it something that shows me more of yourself, of myself? And it is not very pleasant sometimes. It is something that gives me insight into my own psyche. Is it something that is difficult for me? And yes, I mean, maybe there is some relaxation and release after that, but this relaxation and release is kind of more or less permanent because you have made some insight, or you have abandoned something that doesn't serve you anymore. You saw something and you start to abandon it. So it's not an escape. It is not an escape. It is a diminishing of the distance. It is the greater intimacy with you. You know, it's not an escape into some sort of a catatonic state. Very important. If you feel that you are using it like that, then there's no problem. If you feel like it's an escape, then there's a problem. With regards to physiological addiction, my best understanding is that there's no evidence at all that marijuana is physically addictive. Physically, right? Mm-hmm. With regards to your psyche, you can use any tool as a mean of escape or a mean of a deeper, more brutal honesty. You see? Mm-hmm. You see? Does it make sense?
Yeah. I wanted to give you some context. So what I've been doing recently is I'll wake up and I'll either meditate and then I'll smoke. Mm-hmm. It's usually about later on in the evening that I smoke. I smoke about every day. Sometimes mm-hmm. I don't smoke. Like if I feel like a lot of pain throughout the day,
you don't. Yes,
I won't smoke.
That's enough for me, right? Because it does tend to make it more sensitive, right? It tends to intensify it, right? Oh my God, Alex just got enlightened and disappeared into the void.
It's my turn.
Okay. All right, perfect. So for everybody, let me do it again. Let me show you, because I mean this is just a wonderful advertisement for me. So this is my services. Artem Boycev at www.truefreedom.com. So people speak to me and they get enlightened and they disappear into the void. Which is just absolutely amazing, and I think everybody should speak to me a lot of time. And what the fuck, Alex? What are you doing here?
I'm sorry, Artem.
Wait, why there are two of you? I mean, we're speaking about one. You like multiply.
Oh no, it must have froze. The screen must have froze because I wasn't here for like 30 seconds.
Okay, well, never mind then.
It got cut off.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, Alex, you were saying something.
Okay, sorry.
We'll get to you. Yeah.
What I was saying is,
okay.
So it's sometimes I notice that if I do have like yesterday, for example, there was this anxiety that I started feeling in my stomach, and it was like fear kind of and really unsettling.
Yeah, and usually, oftentimes, fear is in the stomach. It was the same for me.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so fear for me manifested mostly in the stomach. Okay. Also shaking. That too. Yeah.
I haven't gotten to shaking yet, but I can't wait for that.
Well, if you can't wait for that, then you're gonna have it. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Fate here.
Okay. I know. I'm noticing I want pain more and more, so it's weird for me. I don't know. It must have always been
liberating to go through and let go of your own pain that you have been carrying with you for such a long time. It is liberating.
It's amazing. I feel like I have a new vocation. Like I just wake up in the morning and I know what I'm doing for the day. I'm going to
right. Yes, so don't get stuck in it. Right. So it's not, in one of my answers, I'd say enlightenment is all about you. It starts with you. It ends with you. Get into it. Launch into it. Do it, and then get back to your life. Right. So
yes.
So it's if it's intense, if it's sufficiently intense for you that you don't want to do anything else and you want to spend in solitude and stuff like that, then wonderful. But if you kind of, you start to become bored of it and stuff, I would say, go out, live. Yeah. It's not about, the spirituality is not about, it's a tool, it's a method, it's about life. It's about embracing it to the fullest.
Yeah, so I understand. So
we were speaking
So I decided to smoke last night anyway, and I noticed that right as I smoked, I started to feel a little better. And I was like, That's when I started thinking.
Oh.
That's when I started thinking. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so this didn't intensify my experience. It actually kind of
here's the thing.
relieved it.
I mean, did you smoke? Did you smoke? It was it the same day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, here's what it was for me. How it was for me with weed. So I don't know if it's going to give you insight or, and by the way, with most of the psychedelics. So like, let's say I would smoke, and then there would be some, like, I don't know, whatever, fear, or some discomfort, or whatever it is. Then after I would go through it, then I would notice that I would be in a state where the mind is a little quieter, and I feel more relaxed, and there's more vital and stuff like that. So if I smoked more, then I could have more of an anxiety, and then more of a relaxation. But sooner or later, I would actually get to the place where I would smoke more. Like, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And you can say it's tolerance, and you can say this is like the state of the ultimate samadhi, where like nothing really. Like, you have like I mean, there are relative levels. There are levels of like how quiet your mind is, and how content, and how much of a well-being of the enlightened state you enjoy. So there are levels, yes, but my point is that kind of if you smoke again, if you still have, so you smoke once, it's usually the most intense. Then you smoke more, it can uncover something else. But like the first time you, for example, smoke, there was anxiety, and the second time you smoke, there's more bliss, and then the third time you kind of could smoke, there could be a little bit more anxiety, or it could be some anger. So it's kind of you kind of slowly uncovering the layers of this, and you kind of go through them. Right, so it doesn't mean the next time you smoke there won't be any fear at all, right? But something, and some realization could also happen afterwards. So generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with. So you could smoke and feel wonderful immediately, or you can smoke and feel horrible immediately, right? So generally speaking, the fact that you smoke the second time after the first time, which was a little challenging, and you felt relief or nice or pleasure. Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Yeah, please.
No, sorry, that's not what I meant to get across.
Sorry.
Before I smoked, I had the paranoia
Okay.
and the fear before I smoked and then I decided to smoke. Because sometimes Artem, I smoke because I think it'll make me feel a little better and open my emotions up. And then sometimes I don't smoke because I'm in so much pain, or sometimes I just don't smoke because I know that I'm probably going to be in pain if I do. Like, there's like these.
Gotcha. Yes. You kind of, you understand what's still in front of you. Yeah, it was kind of like, yeah. I get it. So anyway, even if this is I see. So what you're saying is that you had fear, anxiety, and you smoked, and it kind of went away, kind of relaxed, right?
Yeah, and joyful even.
Yeah. So maybe that's just what you needed to realize that this fear and anxiety was not rational at all, and was just, you see, it's like it's sometimes we even joked with my wife that all psychedelics are just placebo. So it's kind of you just, yeah. I put you on mute because you have too much noise.
I don't think it's me, but I can put myself on mute. But what was it that you said? I didn't hear it.
Sometimes we even joked with my wife that all psychedelics are placebo. So you kind of just by taking psychedelics, you're basically just allowing yourself to experience what it is that you didn't want to experience, or what it is next for you on the spiritual path. So generally speaking, like if you are anxious and fearful and stuff, right? So then psychedelics can like relax you and say, hey, what are you anxious about? Look, everything is perfect. Or when you think everything is perfect, the psychedelic can show you like, oh, there's so much underlying fear in you still, So generally speaking, kind of my impression was that, this whole spirituality is also about balance, right? So if we tend to go one extreme or the other. We tend to either be happy, we tend to be miserable. We have all this dualistic like pairs of emotions and pairs of states of consciousness that come and go, right? And basically, an enlightenment is basically the process of all of this pairs that are like good, positive, negative, they all kind of rotate around the center. Like in the center, there's just peace and equanimity, and you go this way and this way and this way and this way. And the psychedelics and meditation, they kind of tend to bring you closer and closer to the center by offering you the opposite experiences. So if you're very, like, for example, when I was extremely depressed, and I smoked some DMT, I always had amazingly wonderful experience. Well, it always like, oh my God, you forgot. Look, there's so much beauty. There's something that you're missing. Like there was always. It was always the positive experience. But after self-realization, I think I only smoked DMT once or twice. It was never a positive experience. I was like so blissed out. I was like, everything is great. And I was like, oh, there's so much fear in you still, So generally speaking, kind of, I'm not surprised at all that you had an experience like it. Generally speaking, it doesn't mean anything. If you have a recurring theme where you wake up and you feel like shit all the time, and you know that the moment you smoke marijuana, you're gonna feel great. You smoke marijuana, you feel great, and then you feel great, and you feel great, and then it tapers off, right? And next day, and wears off, and next day or in 10 hours, you feel like shit again. It was like, oh shit, I feel like shit again. Let me smoke. So you smoke it, oh, and you feel great again, right? That's addiction. That's exactly the case with nicotine, alcohol, if you're addicted to it, all of it. And the interesting thing about the addiction is that sooner or later, it's not like I feel shitty, I feel good, right? So this good becomes the baseline. So you start smoking just to bring yourself from like the misery to your normal state, which is actually the same state that it was before you got addicted. That's the case with nicotine. So if you're a nicotine addict and you smoke it, it's like you smoke it only because it's miserable. So, oh my God, I'm miserable, and then you smoke it. Oh, I'm okay again. You actually just got okay again, right? And then you get miserable again. So if you notice that a relationship like this develops with marijuana, then it is absolutely an addiction. Yes, but I think that your relationship with marijuana will be much more complicated than that. And just one instance of like, oh, I smoked and my fear went away, and you're asking about addiction, and generally it makes you oftentimes more vulnerable, and so it's not. I don't see much case for concern, but of course, watch it if you're concerned.
I know that at first.
You don't have to do it every day.
What?
You don't have to do it every day, by the way. You can do it like one day on, one day off, and I think that if the days off aren't like the days we're just waiting until finally the next day you can smoke, then there's no, then it's not addiction. Generally psychedelics are self-regulating generally, but of course there are reports of people get addicted to weed. I've actually even read a report where a person took a very strong dose of LSD, and on this dose of LSD, so they realized that they're addicted to weed and stopped smoking weed cold turkey. So it has to do with your relationship to the substance and your relationship to your intent and your relationship to how the substance helps you to go deeper and accept the truth of you. The truth, so it's like about yourself, getting a better knowledge of yourself. If that's not what's going on,
I'd say it's a hybrid, and it's more of knowing the truth of myself, but it is a combination, because about 2 months ago, I was straight up addicted. I wanted to just feel good. Mm-hmm. And I noticed when I was feeling shitty, I just wanted more of it. But mm-hmm. then what started happening is I wasn't feeling good every time I smoked it. I started getting in pain and paranoia and fear. So then I thought, well, this is great. This is what I want anyway. I just want to keep feeling now. So I think it's kind of tapered off from an addiction to kind of just being a judgment, like am I trying to escape anything here? Okay, well, just know you're trying to escape something. You're going to have to deal with it later. Like knowing I'm going to feel it anyway. It's all feelings that I got to get to.
Great. That's great. Yes. And also, right, feeling good and feeling bad are just two sides of the same coin, right? So it all takes you to a much deeper piece, right? On which, compared to which feeling good and feeling bad are just like waves on its surface, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So it's no wonder that felt good, and then later, oh my God! So something started to come, which is the other side of
exactly.
Feeling good. Okay.
Thank you, Artem.
You bet. Let me. Hey, sorry, you're the last. I'm sorry. So we gotta speak, and then I'm gonna finish that. Wait, let me see. Let me first look at the comments, if you don't mind. So, Teresa said a person could be acting manipulative. Well, yes, most definitely. Like people who stretch. Yes, I agree with you. Louis says, hello, Artem. I love you too. Your page has helped. Oh, this is wonderful. This is great. Yes. So your feedback helps. Always helps. So wonderful. Craving for hold on. Craving. Yeah, I don't think I have much else. Okay, I'm ready. Sorry. Oh, I'm muted.
Okay.
Oh, you're unmuted.
So, how to ask for more space diplomatically? Does that make sense?
Yes. So first of all, my advice would be to see if what the issue is. So in asking for space. So are you afraid that your partner will take it as a sign of disrespect, or like, be concerned that you don't love them as much, or be concerned, be afraid because you don't give them enough attention, or they might think that you're being rude, or whatever. So that's one concern, right? Another concern is, when you say diplomatically, another concern is that if they're suffering and they need you, and you kind of can't give it to them. So they are, let's say they're lonely and they want to spend more time with you, but you want to spend more time alone. So what do you want to address? Do you want to address? You see the distinction?
Yeah, more time alone to break bad habits, maybe. between us.
I understand the desire to time alone. Your question was, how do I speak to my partner about it, right? How to be diplomatic?
Well, I don't know if, like, at the moment I'm not speaking too much. I'm just isolating myself. Do you understand? I'm just isolating myself.
No, I do. I do. But your question was, how do I ask for some space diplomatically?
Yeah, but it's kind of, I am kind of communicating in a way that I want more space.
Okay, let's try to be more direct. So first of all, from whom?
My wife.
Your wife. Your partner. Okay, cool. So then let's look at it from her side, right? From her side. So what is the concern, right? So why are you asking? So why can't you just say, "Hey, baby, I'm just gonna spend my time alone. I just gonna spend the whole day alone," and she'll be like, "Yeah, baby, that's okay. Okay, go for it." And you'll be like, "Yeah, thanks." Or she would just say, "Okay," because there's no problem at all, right? So obviously, there could be, right? So from her perspective, what are you afraid of? When you say diplomatic, how do I do that? How do I ask for diplomatically? Like, is she bored without you, or like what are you trying to address with her?
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. So
maybe just afraid to say. Maybe just afraid to ask. Like just this. Yeah. Like I'll tell you that until maybe I was like maybe 38 or 40, I have never even said I would like some time alone. I would like to spend some time alone, because there are actually, most of us never say that, because it's considered rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's why I asked you about your wife, because you know much more, right? So what you know about her is how you should go about it, right? I don't know your wife, right? So if she's let's say, so what are you're afraid of her specific reaction, right? So what specific reaction are you afraid of, right? And whatever reaction you're afraid of, you can just make sure that it doesn't follow, right? So if you're afraid that she's going to say, I don't think that's the case, but just an example. So if you're afraid that she's going to say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm concerned you don't love me. I'm concerned about our relationship now. You want to spend some time alone, or how's it we're always together," and things like that. Then you can say, like, "Baby, I love you very much. I'm always going to be with you, but I'm going through the period of my life when I'm drawn to solitude. I want to spend some time alone, get closer to myself. And I still love you, and I'm going to be with you. We're going to see each other, but I do need to spend some time alone in solitude. And I do this and this, or like I meditate." You can tell a little bit about what you're going through. My point is you're concerned about it because you think that she's going to make it about her, right? As we all love to do. You see, everything our partner does is somehow, about us. Oftentimes,
Oh yeah, you don't love me anymore, or like,
whatever.
You love your friends.
Right? It was about me, right? It's about me. He spends a lot of time in solitude. I have something to do with it, right? And you want to let her know that it has nothing to do with your love for her, that it has nothing to do with your relationship for her, right? With her, that it is for you, assuming you want to keep the relationship. And I would even say, put your money where your mouth is, and follow up with action. So if you say, "Well, no, it's not about you. I love you. I want to maintain a relationship with you, and I still just want to be in solitude," then from time to time you go, when you go out of the solitude, you spend time with her. You give her some attention. You see. But if you want to go to the solitude so deep, so profound and so long that she's not going to be a part of you, like let's say for half a year, like for a year or for a month or whatever. Or if you want to just leave it all behind and go into a cave and meditate for years and years, and enlightenment is the only thing that interests you and things like that, right? Or like, you know, you're ready to lose everything, right? So, and you don't want to keep living with her, for example, like this. You should know that, right? So if you love her, if you want to stay with her, if you just be open, you know, be honest, be truthful, be sincere, be vulnerable, be real.
Yeah, it's very painful to be honest.
Yes.
Certainly. And it certainly seems to be, you know, when the honesty comes, it comes intensely. So suddenly everything comes out at the same time. So
yes, and sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. Yes. Sometimes it is. I know. Yeah. I know.
I'm sorry, I'm just staring at the camera now.
It's okay. It's okay. Yes. It can be very painful, yes. And it can be also scary to be really open with other people, and to be vulnerable, including our partners oftentimes. I mean, our wives and husbands, oftentimes, you know, the people that are most close to us, and yet we hide from them so much. Right?
And did you have the same thing yourself?
Huh?
Did you have the same thing yourself?
Of course. Of course.
Did it help you to let go of everything, or?
Honesty is the only way. There's no, because you see, being honest and being truthful is letting go is the same thing. Don't you know that none of this is going to last forever? Don't you know that you are everything that you have ever had? Don't you know that?
But I kid myself a lot. So
right, yeah. What's the point of lying? You know, when you feel like crying, you know that you feel like crying.
I don't want to cry on video.
I know, I understand. I know you feel like crying. I know, I understand. But that was my point exactly, right? When you love somebody, you know that you love somebody, right? So honesty is difficult. Yes, but it's the only way. You know, it's the only way. You don't have to be honest with other people 100%, but you have to be honest with yourself. You see?
I don't know.
Honesty with yourself allows you to also step over your fear of being honest with other people. You know, the most paradoxical thing? The most paradoxical thing is that we're so afraid of being very honest, bare, vulnerable with other people. But every time that it happens, almost every time, not always, but most of the time, vast majority of the time, they react well. Just like you react well usually to anybody who's open, authentic, truthful, you know? We all we react so well to authenticity, but we're so afraid that other people will react badly to our authenticity.
Well, I don't care enough anymore. So sometimes
You don't.
I can seem a
And
bit,
yet- And yet you
a
said,
bit cold. So
well, sure. Sure. Yes. Yes. That's okay.
and sometimes not. So
Yes.
I'm kind of
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you don't have to, because like caring all the time about what other people think of you is part of our conditioning, right? Sometimes you want to stop playing this game. So sometimes you feel cold, and that's totally fine. You don't have to love everybody. No, it's not honest either. You don't love everybody. It's okay.
I kind of love everyone.
No, yeah. I understand that. I understand this kind of part.
I know. I kid myself.
You have to like treat everybody in this kind of super loving way, right? So what I meant was a confirmation for you when you said sometimes I'm very cold, right? Right. So you don't have to extend. It's all, you know. It is difficult to speak about these things because it's paradox. It's a paradox, because you love everybody and then at the same time you're very normal. You say, well, it's a process where you learn not to care what other people think of you, but through that you can be the best for them, right? So on one hand you say, well, I kind of don't care. But on the other hand, you say, well, how do I do it diplomatically? You know, because you're learning to love yourself in an extremely deep, absolute way. But with that, you're also getting an insight that other people are the same way, that they also love themselves. They just forgot, and they're suffering, and you and your love and compassion and understanding starts to extend to them. But the periods of coldness and the periods of isolation, and sometimes even the periods of anger and hatred towards society, and actually not sometimes, always, happen absolutely. They all happen.
I haven't felt any hatred currently.
Great.
But I don't know. I don't think I've got any more questions.
That's okay. So it was a great question, and it was good to speak to you. I mean, I don't have an access into your mind. I don't know what you feel, but I can see what you feel, and I felt the same way. I think. I mean, from speaking to you, I think I understand what you're going through to some extent.
Yeah. It's a strange experience to speak to you. It feels like I'm speaking to myself.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it can be very weird. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, bye. All right. Cool. So I sing with you. I like the face. I like the green face. Okay. So I think that it's good for today. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. I can keep this under an hour. Thank you very much for joining. I will continue to do that. We didn't have too many people today. I think about 15, probably because it's Saturday. So I hope that more people will arrive and more people will find it useful, not less, but we'll see. So I will keep doing this 4 times a week, and for as long as you say that it is helpful, and for as long as I'm not bored, I guess, of that. Teresa says, thank you, Artem. You're welcome. And bye. Bye. I will see you on Tuesday at 11 a.m. So we got a couple of days. Next time, I don't have any particular topic, but I have a bunch of questions that I saved from Discord, from other questions that people sent me. So, well, it was good to see you. Good luck with your spiritual practice. Best of luck. I love you all very much. Have fun. I wish you all well.